I first published this story under the title Converted on LSD Trip on the 11th of February 2001, 30 years after the event, an event that took place on the 16th of January 1970. The title of the book was Converted on LSD Trip. It is now published in 2 podcasts. 1, Converted on LSD Trip, which is part 1, and 2, Bierton, Strict and Particular Baptist, which is part 2 of Converted on LSD Trip. The moving cause of publication was that in 1993 I received news of my older brother Michael from the Philippines, who'd been sentenced to prison for a term of 16 years. He was incarcerated in New Bilibid Prison, the maximum compound, which is the national penitentiary of the Philippines. I learned this via the ITN television network.
Headquarters of ITN, News at 10, with Trevor McDonald.
In 1993 in the UK, with Trevor McDonald in 1993. It was several years later that Michael wrote to me from within the prison, informing me of his bad health and mental condition and depressed, suicidal state of mind. It was 1 year later he wrote to inform me of a remarkable change that had taken place in his life and of his outlook. He was reading the Bible and classical Christian literature and was convinced that Jesus was the Christ, the Son of the living God. I could tell from his writing he was ever so much better in health and outlook. So I wrote to him again, instructing him to be baptised as a Christian within the prison and, if necessary, get one of his fellow prisoners who too had become a Christian to baptise him. This he did, and Lucas Dangatton, a former prison inmate, did so on the 16th of September 2000. It was this that moved me, and I felt compelled to write our stories of conversion from crime to Christ. This story is told in our books, Converted on LSD Trip, Borstal Boys, Such Were Some of You, and now Bierton, Strict and Particular Baptists, which is the title of this podcast. Sadly, Michael died of tuberculosis in the prison in 1995. It has been my intention, and still is, to record in detail all the important stages and events of my conversion and experience as a Christian, both the good and the bad, in order to demonstrate the goodness of God to us both. 2, Bierton, Strict and Particular Baptist, and recounts my life after joining the Bierton Church and my mission to the Philippines to assist my brother and the many hundreds of prison inmates in New Bilibid Prison. The following is a transcript from the book on the chapter Converted from Crime to Christ, date 16th of January 1970, at which time I was having a bad trip on LSD. I was not a Christian, but a young criminal.